Morning, guys. Reporting from Bulgaria, as usual. Um, it's the 5th of March 2024, and we'll call this part 8 because it's after part 7. And I just want to carry on a little bit of a conversation about the energy sort of throughout Europe and the legislations and plans and all this, and the net zero and all that, which I kind of follow with fascination, really, because I can't believe some of the things that they're planning and doing. Now, one of them, if we start up on the western um, states like the UK and all that, and the woke, the more woke they are, the more kind of ridiculous their energy plans are. And people, I don't think they really take that much notice, but it's all going to come to a head, really. I think, um, and stopping farmers farming and everything like that, and you got to just keep an eye on it. And that one of the reasons why I came here was over the years I was kind of spotting which direction each place is going. You get a better idea if you spend, which I did, half the time here and half the time over there, and I keep an eye on, like, generally the Balkans and sort of what's going to happen around here in kind of the long term. Um, and later on, we've seen the gas situation with Russia and all that. And actually, the UK said they hardly got any gas uh, from Russia, and all of a sudden they did. so, so these things just come out once the gas is cut off. And I mentioned the coal plants that all they're blowing them up in the UK, and everyone's cheering, which is bizarre, really, to me, anyway. Um, and you've only got to kind of do a little bit of research, 20 minutes, half an hour, to do the sums on the wind farms and see how kind of ineffective they are and like cost effective, because these are machines and they're going to break, especially ones that spin around like that on a massive, huge scale on all the rest of it. And they do, even now they go on fire and stuff. And plus, they don't work when it's not windy, and they don't work when it's too windy. We've discovered, and a lot of them on the land have got, for whatever reason, they've got generators that kind of keep them going or whatever. I don't I don't know exactly what the what's the name, the purpose of the generators are, but I think it's to get them going from a standing start. So what do they run on? Yeah, and it's the same with you see these videos of these electric buses um, being charged up by these big jennies, so which are running on diesel. So the EV thing is the next thing. Now I think it's gonna be a disaster. I think it's the DeLorean of the 2020s, and a lot of the car manufacturers are pulling out now anyway, and you hear about it, Volkswagen and Toyota. I think they're kind of not staying warm to the idea, because a lot of it was subsidised, wasn't it? the manufacture and the sales of the early cars, and especially now you see a lot of them in hot weather or cold weather, either bursting into flames or the batteries go flat or they won't charge up in very cold weather, sub-zero temperatures, and there's people there all fighting about the charging stations which aren't working, and that kind of thing. You just you haven't got to be like sort of a rocket scientist to kind of just see these things as they're unfolding, really, and especially the wind farms and stuff like that. Now I can understand, like if you're in the desert, like in Arizona, or even here in Bulgaria, there's a lot of solar farms, and they're quite big, and they are effective because we get sun a lot of the time, even when it's cold. It's sunny now, and it's winter, and we get quite a lot of sun in the winter actually. Although it's cold, it's like the continental climate type thing. So I can understand if it works. It's fantastic, brilliant. But even solar, it can. I think if you look at the figures on the outputs of the wind farms and the solar over the year, they can. They're a good supplement, but they cost money to maintain. They cost money to manufacture. And if you're looking at a solar array on a residential property, it'll pay for itself over about, I think it's over about 9, 10 years, and then it's starting to deteriorate then. And actually, my daughter bought a house with this absolutely super duper um, solar array, and in the control shed was absolutely, they spent thousands and thousands and thousands on the batteries and the inverters and the current regulators and whatever else they have. It was like pretty impressive in the shed. So I said, "Wow, you must be. It must be great, having all this." And she said, "Like, well, it doesn't work. It just it can hardly run the fridge." I said, "Oh, why is that?" He said, "Well, the solar panels are only on. After these were about 15 years old, 20 years old, and obviously, some of the first ones uh, out on the market, and they just didn't work. Um, Half of them were dead, and the other half were just putting out like 20% of what they should be, and they couldn't run the fridge, or they were struggling, and they never even had on grid power. Um, so anyway, that was just one example. I'm sure that there are others which work. I mean, I watched Curtis Stone, guy from Canada, and he's got a massive array of solar, and he uses it wisely and properly, and he understands the storage, and he does have an electric car because he's got all this solar, and it works for him because he doesn't go to work. He lives there, so he's not on the road trying to charge his car up in some in town that hasn't got any chargers or there's a big queue. So it works well for him, and he understands, and he does say that it works for him. It's not going to work for everyone. And the solar array he's got is massive, and it's all brand new at the moment. So you know, and they get a lot of sun where he is. So it can work. But you see a lot of the living abroad channels, um, which I suppose this one kind of is, and the and it goes on about off grid. They're going to actually. not only going to go and live in a strange country, in a foreign country, probably with not like big incomes, um, and they're going to try and live off grid, off the bat, straight away, and and you think, why would you do that? Because I live on grid here. There's a light there, which is an LED light. Hardly takes anything, you know. And my footprint here and my electric bills are minimum, and I could even get them down more. So I would go for more of a you know get on grid, but like try not to use it. What's wrong with that idea? Because all my heat here, I only use the wood burner for heating. I haven't even had it on for the last about 10, 12 days. And I have a little electric fire here on one bar, sat there like Ebenezer with one bar on because that's 600 watts. And I have it on for about 4 or 5 hours in the afternoon because I usually out in the garden or go to town. I always do something in the mornings up to about midday, and then get the cooking going. Because I do like intermittent fasting as well, which is great. So I eat about 2 o'clock. Sometimes I have breakfast. There's nothing hard and fast here, and there's no program on the work in the garden. That's done as and when I feel like doing it, because I've been doing 35 years of meeting programs in the construction industry, going hell for leather every day, trying to put yourself out of work. So I had to get out of that because it kind of burns you out when you're getting over in your late 50s and that. And that's, I managed to kind of get stuff together here, so enough property and stuff just to keep ticking over. And I should be all right now until retirement. So back to the energy. So I've got wood, and I watch these off-grid programs, and they're panning around the properties, and they're saying, I'm looking for the wood, because you've got to season wood. I'm thinking, where's all the wood? If they're living off-grid, they'd have to have more than me. And I'm thinking, where's all the wood? Or have they only been here in the summer, A lot of them are in Bulgaria. And they tend to just find an excuse to go home for some reasons. We all, less said the better. But anyway, so I've got propane here, and I have 4 bottles, and I only use about 1.5 bottles a year, and I cook on gas about 3/4 of the year. And when the wood burner's in operation, I'm cooking on the wood burner. So I mean, if the off-grid thing is to save the planet, I'm saving it. And the wood is all replenished here in Bulgaria because the forest runs from one end of the country to the other, and it gets too dense unless they manage it. It just becomes a jungle, and well, it is a jungle, and you can't even walk through it. So they thin it out, and they go up there with horses, mules, which is that's pretty green, and the energy isn't travelling far. I'm getting a local guy brings the wood here. So, and the forest, they replenish them. Well, they don't have to half the time. They're just thinning them out. And up behind the house here, I've got like 2,000 meters of woodland, and it's dense. And in another year or so, we'll even be able to walk through it if I don't thin it out. So I got about maybe 1.5 cube, 2 cube of wood from there last summer for the winter. You got to dry it out. So the off-grid thing, I mean, it's a great idea. It's very noble. and they've always got a car in the background, like a big Jeep or something. So, um, I've known a lot of green people, and they very rarely last at what they're doing, or you know, if you point things out to them, they get a bit hostile and aggressive. Say like, well, why are you doing that? Or why are you doing that? You know what I mean? And because a lot of them don't practice what they preach, and I kind of think so. The West is like trying to go to this net zero, which they probably will. But if they do, the population will go to net zero as well, because they'll all starve to death because they're stopping the farmers and they're stopping the energy, they're stopping the industry in Germany. And the thing that gets me about the West is they think everyone's going along with it, like South America and Africa, and they all go to these big energy, and even in Eastern Europe and around here, I mean, they don't really. I don't think they buy into all this net zero. I really don't. They say they do, obviously, and they're going to go along with everything Brussels and the EU are saying until they're not. That's my view. What will happen? They'll go so far, but they're not going to commit the energy suicide or the food suicide that the West seems hell bent on doing. Um, and even now, they've just announced that here that they're going to they've got a great big deal with Azerbaijan, which is there's a lot of gas there, and I mean gas is proper green energy. I mean, so it, the West say they're going green and net zero and all that, but these are going to use the gas from Azerbaijan. Iran's full of gas, and I think there's a lot of gas in the stands in the Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, all around there, and oil. So all the energies in the east and elsewhere, and all the resources seem to be there as well, and what they call the global south, which is east, and everyone who's not the West is now getting sort of described as the global south. So all the energies there, all the resources seem to be there. And I get the impression that these people they have no intention of committing all this energy suicide and all that. And here they've got the gas coming in from God knows where. From this hub in Turkey, it comes from Azerbaijan to there, and Russia to there. So anyone's guess. I mean, it's transiting through Bulgaria to Serbia, and I don't think they're buying it from Azerbaijan on paper, because they can mix the gas in the pipelines. And that was one of the things with the Nord Stream, that they were trying to get the Russians to have it as like, it can be shared gas, which the Russians were thinking like, we're building all this infrastructure, and then it's got to be shared, so it's not a monopoly type thing. Anyway, so I think that they actually are mixing the gas, and all you do is like, there's got to be a meter somewhere, hasn't there, on these gas pipelines from Azerbaijan going into the hub in Turkey, and the one from the comes under the Black Sea, from Russia, is has got to be metered at some stage, and as it comes into the hub, they know how much they're putting in there, and then whoever's buying it from, say Bulgaria wants to buy it from Azerbaijan, they'll just meter that as it's coming in, and but the gas coming out the other end, it comes from the hub. The gas is all mixed up in the hub. That's why it's called a hub. So it's just a mix of everything. I mean, you work it out. You try and work it out. But they'll be charged, by Azerbaijan. On paper, they'll be buying it from Azerbaijan. It's much the same as if you get an electric meter. You can have 3 or 4 or 5 suppliers, and you can change suppliers. It's the same electricity, but you just buy it off a different broker, kind of thing. Just so it's not a monopoly. So that's how the gas kind of is working, and it's all coming from the east. So it's another plus for people around here, and Bulgaria. Anyone who transits it, the Azerbaijan gas is going to get transited through Bulgaria to other Balkan countries. They didn't say which ones, and I think it all goes all the way to Hungary as well now. They can get it to Hungary through Serbia, and go to North Macedonia, Bosnia, and Albania. And they were going to do a pipeline was going to go all the way to Italy, but I don't think it ever got completed. I might be wrong. It might be now. I was looking at all this in about 2014, and Bulgaria have been working on this since then. So they've got, they're looking at, how to get energy, not how to get rid of it, like the West. And it's just fascinating to see, and they think everyone's taking part in this woke net zero stuff, and they're not. They're not. They're under this illusion. Well, especially the populations are. I think those who, the elites who are doing it all, they know. They know who's going to take part and who isn't. Same with a lot of things, they know. So yeah, there's a few ideas on energy, both domestic and on a national scale, and it's important that people take notice, and nobody seems to take notice in the West, in the UK. They won't know where all the gas and everything's coming from, or who's selling what and who's doing what. Because the USA, they said they're going to supply the whole of Europe with the PNG gas, whatever you call it. It's the the liquid gas in the ships, and apparently they haven't really got the capacity to do that, and it's very expensive when they do get it here. That was one of the things they were trying to bully Bulgaria into, like, they get all the gas through the shipping from America. This is in 2014, and I don't know whether they get any. I'm not sure. And it was going to come through Thessalonica. They were going to build a great big hub there, but they can't, apparently, because the water's too shallow or something like that. And they had all these ideas what they're going to do and what they weren't going to do. But anyway, these people then, and the forestry and all that, and the food. I don't think these people who live off the land and stuff, and they understand farming and everything else. I just don't think they're going to go that way. and Bulgaria is such a small population, 7 million, and quite a big footprint. I think it's 110 million square miles or 1,000 square miles. It's the same size as England, excluding Scotland, which is quite a big area. Um, it's the same size as England, with 7 million people on, and a lot of it's productive, and they do a lot of diverse stuff as well. They do a lot of um, they produce like things like the roses and the sunflowers are quite major now. If you drive around the country in the summer, it's just yellow. It's in with sunflowers, and I noticed they were growing a lot of beans last year because these are nitrogen. Um, these don't need as much fertilizer, I don't think, because the nitrogen fixes sunflowers and beans. And they've got a big wheat belt on the Danube, so that takes they do need the fertilizers there. But I think they've got enough for domestic use anyway. And they were refusing to take the Ukrainian stuff, so obviously they're not short of wheat. So yeah, so that's the energy thing. I hope this is interesting. Fascinates me really. Um, so anyway, I'm going to go and switch that light off now. Not really. Okay, I hope you enjoy that. Cheers.